Hi Taurus, and welcome to your December 2023 horoscope. 2024 is almost here, and don't worry, I'm going to do the horoscopes for January 2024 as well. But if you do want a more personalized look at what the year has in store for you specifically, then my books are open. I only have a couple of spots left for a year ahead reading. The link is down in the description box, so make sure you check it out if it's something for you. December is actually a much easier month than November, and this is because most of the aspects in December involve Venus, and we hardly have any aspects. There's one at the end of the month with Mars. And after the heavy Mars energy that we had in November, this will feel like a much needed break. So with this Venus transits, see if you can spend December as a month where you find comfort, where you find security, a month where you spend time to nurture yourself and to really connect with others as well. On December 3rd, we kick off the Venus transits. Venus in your 6th house is squaring Pluto in your 9th house. So in November, Venus was transiting through your 6th house, showing that you derived a lot of comfort, security, a lot of pleasure and enjoyment by focusing on your routine and your health. So as it's about to leave the 6th house, Venus gets in some tension with Pluto. And what it asks of you is to consider what this period in November has taught you about your subconscious beliefs, and specifically the beliefs that you have around a specific system that you subscribe to, a specific identity that you identify yourself with. For example, you might have been somebody that swore you would never eat meat in your life, but something has happened with Venus in your 6th house that is perhaps making you reconsider that. Don't become too attached to any identity that you have during this time, and you should be doing just fine. So then Venus enters your 7th house, and on December 5th, it trines Saturn in your 11th house. So now that Venus has entered your 7th house, you will find that your routine and your health are no longer bringing you the same enjoyment and the same sense of security that they did in November. This time in December, what you'll find is that you are getting more comfort and enjoyment with your partnerships. And because there is a trine to Saturn, you might actually enter this new period of your life. It's not that long, but still this new period of your life with a sense of maturity, with a sense of responsibility. You might find that you're actually scheduling in times to hang out with your person. Maybe you start making lists about what gifts to get them, really focusing that Saturnian maturity on your relationships. On December 10th, Venus continues into your 7th house. And on December 10th, it opposes Jupiter in your 1st house. So because this is an opposition, you might feel torn on this day. You might feel torn between this coziness that you feel when you spend time with your loved one and all of the wonderful opportunities and recognition you're getting as your own individual, for the uniqueness that you have and for how you stand out in your own being. As I always say, it's never that one is better than the other. Just try to strike your own balance. On December 13th, there is a new moon in Sagittarius in your 8th house. So the sun and the moon are in your 8th house, trining the north node in your 12th house and squaring Neptune in your 11th. A new moon represents a beginning, and for you, this beginning is in terms of your intimate relationships. So you are starting a new chapter in which you have to learn to depend on others. You have to learn to depend on others emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically, maybe financially as well. And what could help you with this new start is by always remembering to come back to yourself, to spend time alone as well. Just because you have beautiful and meaningful relationships, that doesn't mean that you're not allowed alone time or that you always have to spend time with the other person. You might be getting quite dreamy during this new moon in regards to your future vision, to all of the plans you're making for the future. Maybe you're putting together your 2024 goals list. But because this new moon has a square to Neptune, I would recommend not to get too carried away with all this planning and all these dreams, because it could make it more difficult for you to fully rely on others and on the support that they can offer you. On December 17th, this tension between wanting to plan and dream about the future and your relationships asking you to get vulnerable and get real might become the strongest. This is because on the 17th of September, the square between Sun and Neptune becomes exact. On the 21st of December, Venus in your 7th house opposes Uranus in your 1st house. So with Uranus, you have been really becoming your own individual in the last couple of years, Taurus. It's been going through your 1st house, really asking you to reconsider everything you thought was you and how you showed up in the world. And because in December you've been finding a lot of comfort spending time with another human being, on this day it might feel like you're quite torn between the two. You're quite torn between this newfound independence that you have and wanting to spend time with another human being. So on the 22nd, the Sun leaves your 8th house and enters your 9th house. And on the 24th, just in the first couple of degrees of Capricorn, it sextiles Saturn in your 11th house. So with the Sun entering the 9th house, you might find that the activities that made you feel alive are no longer the same. So if you want to feel energized and full of vitality from the 21st, 22nd onwards, then you might want to spend time studying, learning, trying out new experiences, and maybe even traveling. To make this transition smoother and easier, I recommend relying on your good habits, on your maturity and your responsibility. Perhaps putting together a list of courses that you want to attend, books you want to read. Use some of that structure and responsibility. On the 25th of December, we have Venus in your 7th house trining Neptune in your 11th house. It's actually a really beautiful way to close off the Venus transits. Because you have been spending a lot of time on your relationships, you might have some new insight revealed to you in regards to your future plans. Because you have found so much comfort and security with another human being, it's like all of a sudden you can let the logic and your mind go, and your intuition starts to speak to you about your future, about where you see yourself going in the next 5 to 10 years. So I would recommend, if you're trying to put your 2024 goals or to-do lists or what are they called, New Year's resolutions, then that could be a really nice day to do so.
Tough luck, babe. Struck out when you had about 30 chances.
On the 27th of December, there's a full moon in Cancer. The moon is in your 3rd house and the Sun is in your 9th house. During this full moon, the Sun is trining Jupiter in your 1st house. And full moons reveal new information. So you might find that there's a new piece of information that comes your way in regards to your local surroundings or in regards to the travels that you may have been planning. And you might find a sort of tug during this full moon. So your emotions might be really asking you to stay within your local environment, to focus on nurturing relationships with your neighbors, with your siblings, to do short trips, for example. But your ego and your energy is asking you, no, let's think bigger. Let's go exploring. Let's learn new things, read books that we've never would have read before. I would recommend during this full moon that you reassess your new identity that you've been working on to really help you in making this decision. You have learned a lot about who you are in the last couple of months with Jupiter in your first house. So use that new knowledge. Really ask yourself, is this thing that I want to do in line with the new identity, with who I've really realized that I am? Finally, we close the month off on December 28th with a Mars transit. Actually, we have both a Mars and a Venus transit on the 28th of December. Mars in your 8th house is squaring Neptune in your 11th house, and Venus in your 7th house is sextiling Pluto in your 9th house. So you've been focusing a lot of your time on being vulnerable with another human being this month. I mean, I've mentioned it only a couple hundred times in this video. But since December 25th, you might have been feeling an intuitive pull towards thinking longer term, thinking more high level about where you're heading to and the type of life that you want to create for yourself. And sometimes that can require expanding your network, thinking bigger than the people that are currently in your life. So these two may feel a bit at odds with each other. Do you put in the effort and the actions on the relationships that you have currently? Or do you sort of let go and surrender to a larger vision that you have for your life? You have been doing some exploring and learning, as we mentioned earlier as well. So see if there's anything new you're learning from these activities, from the travel you're doing, from the books that you're reading, that can actually help you in making this decision. I like this month for you, Taurus. It's asking you to spend quite a bit of time on your relationships. There's also a little bit of attention going towards exploring and learning new things. And then, of course, thinking towards the future. I feel like one of the misconceptions about Taurus is that they're kind of lazy and that they like things to be stable. But I do think that Taurus can be very future focused as well. So I think this is a beautiful month for you to set some amazing goals for the year ahead. If you do want more support, you're wondering like, what type of goals should I set for the year ahead? Is this going to be more of a career-focused year or more a year where I focus on my home, for example? I can tell you that. You can book a year ahead reading down in the description box. And we'll spend an hour just chatting about you, chatting about 2024 and what you can expect. Thank you for watching. I hope you resonated with this horoscope. Happy New Year, and I hope to see you again soon.